These instructions guide you through a 1-minute mindfulness meditation practice to be done anytime, any place. Begin by becoming aware of your body in this moment and the sensations of your body touching a chair or the ground. Now guiding your awareness to your breath. Breathing in, rest with the sensation of the in-breath. Breathing out, rest with the sensation of the out-breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Meeting your experience with acceptance, friendliness, and curiosity. If a thought arises, simply note thinking and return your attention to your breath. Breathing in, breathing out.
I walked outside today to forget I was human for a while.
The weather's alright at the minute, but it has been changeable, hasn't it? Last week we had some rain. I remember in May we had some snow. We're not alone in the world experiencing strange weather patterns. I'm going to hand over to Joe now. Joe lives in Los Angeles, which is in America, and he's experienced some strange weather too. He's also recently spoken to a scientist with NASA.
The weather events that people are experiencing have been getting worse in recent years, whether in intensity or frequency or both. And I know for me, growing up in California, it has seemed like every year the wildfires and droughts keep getting worse. And I wanted to find out, is there really a scientific link between natural disasters and climate change? So I sat down with Dr. Dalia Kirschbaum, NASA's chief of the Hydrological Sciences Laboratory, to find out, are natural disasters really getting worse, or is it all just in our heads? Hey!
How you doing?
It's so good to meet you. Thank you so much for doing this conversation with me.
Sure, happy to do it. This is a really cool project. Thanks for involving me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought maybe we could just start by, I've read about you, but I always find that when I hear directly from somebody what they're up to, it makes a lot more sense. So
Yeah.
What are you up to?
So my name is Dalia Kirschbaum. I work at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, and I wear many hats there. But the one that might be the most interesting is I work with different groups around NASA and partners around the world to bring different satellite data to bear when there's natural disasters and help understand the processes before they happen, and then contributing to mitigation and rebuilding and resilience afterwards.
All right. That's something I've been thinking about a lot lately on this project on Create Together. A bunch of folks in the Hit Record community have been talking about experiences that they've had with natural disasters. In particular, one young woman from the Philippines, Mitzi. And where my head goes is, isn't it important to know for sure that climate change is causing these natural disasters? Is there really a link?
Yes. Over the past 100 years, humans have been emitting greenhouse gases, and that really serves as a blanket, and it really traps the heat in. And so this heat is building up and moving around in our atmosphere, and the disasters that are caused by these movements of heat are different. Some of those disasters, such as extreme heat waves, we can confidently say that climate change is directly influencing the frequency, the intensity of heat waves. And that impacts drought, and that impacts fires. We see the increases in fires, extreme fires in Australia, in California, Siberia. Just last year, 2020 was a record year. There's some other things like storms where we know that the air can hold more moisture, and so we have more extreme precipitation because we just have more water in the air. In 2020, we had 30 named storms in the Atlantic, with $22 billion weather disasters in the US. That was unprecedented. And from the science, we can understand and attribute them by looking at observations over time, by modeling the processes and understanding the physics. And together, that gives us a very clear picture that humans are causing the warming and that all of these extremes are being exacerbated by this heat that's being moved around our atmosphere.
How do you know, like in a practical sense, how do scientists know that gases that come out of a car exhaust pipe are forming this greenhouse glass cover that's trapping heat?
So we can observe this from space. We have satellites that can look at greenhouse gases. And before that, we actually can look at ice cores. So we can drill into the ice and we can go back 800,000 years and we can measure the gases in the ice bubbles. And so what we see now is that since the Industrial Revolution, we are far beyond where we started in that 800,000 year pattern. That is directly attributable to the carbon dioxide that humans have emitted. And that gas stays in the atmosphere for a long time, and it actually serves to kind of block some of the heat that's coming in and trap it.
And that's how you can tell. You can say like, hey, we have the whole record on ice for 800,000 years. And starting in the Industrial Revolution, it goes.
It's the hockey stick, right? Climate change is really esoteric and difficult to wrap your hands around. But the impacts are happening now. And the people that are impacted by natural disasters are disproportionately impoverished. This is a difficult road ahead. We already know that we're experiencing more extreme events and it's not going to stop. But we understand it and we know how to build resilient systems. Local communities do. I'm seeing community leaders like Mitzi meet with social scientists and policymakers together to figure out how to fix things. You need to build resilient communities, both to combat climate change, but also as a community to figure out how to build smart cities, how to invest in technology that will withstand heat waves and power grid issues. All of those decisions can really help us thrive in the future. And then we can work to start to curb emissions so that the peaks that we're seeing in 2020 and possibly 2021 are the last peaks that we see. You know, we model the future, right? And we can provide a projection for where we may be if we don't curb greenhouse gases. And what we're seeing is that the worst case scenario is looking less and less likely.
Oh, that's good. I hadn't heard that before.
That's good. That's good.
No, because you hear some people talk about like, it's already too late.
It's never too late. Every little bit counts to counteract the impacts in the future. We can make decisions and advocate for change at the local level, and that has a broad influence. That is the microphone for policymakers to start enacting real change, and that goes all the way up to the Paris Climate Accord and the efforts that we're already seeing in effect working to reduce greenhouse emissions, to use clean energy. But we need to continue to be vigilant, to be educated. It indeed is going to take a global community that starts at a very local level.
So for somebody out there who feels like, I have to do something, but I want to do something more than just recycle, especially someone who's on the younger side and still figuring out what they want to do with their life, what are some things that a person like that might want to do?
Well, the first thing I would say is learn the science, right? So learn about science and engineering and math and understand why this is happening so that you don't have to just take it at face value, you understand it. Because we need more leaders that are knowledgeable in science. So that would be my rallying cry.
Well, there we go. We're not too late, and we can do something about it. Time for a prayer, and if you'd like this prayer to be your prayer, it is Amen at the end. You're welcome to put your hands together, or you can look at the candle flame if it helps you to reflect. Dear God, help us to look after the world in any way we can, because we only get one world. Amen. Well, that concludes our collective worship for today. Remember, work hard, be kind, look after yourselves, and I'll see you around school.